Vendors are an essential part of the informal economy. They're usually easy to access, often provide a range of affordable goods and services, and they add vibrancy to city life. The government of Barbados is committed to improving the livelihoods of vendors, and work has been ongoing to improve conditions for them. There are plans for the construction of new vending areas and the refurbishment of markets and community vending facilities, from Brandon's to Baxter's Road, and from Temple Yard to right here in Fairchild Street. This will be rebranded the Fairchild Street Market Village. It's intended to become a multi-purpose hub for small entrepreneurs.
In this particular project, the Urban Development Commission was asked to collaborate with the Markets Division, as well as the BARVIN, Barbados Association of Retailers, Vendors and Entrepreneurs, as well as other vendors to assist with redeveloping the Fairchild Street Market. It's going to be reimagined to ensure that the Fairchild Street Market Village concept is given to this new facility, which will house 112 vendors.
For decades, the market at Fairchild Street has been a constant feature in Bridgetown. Over time, it moved from a large structure to a series of small, detached stalls. Manager of markets with the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, Sherlock King, told us about its history.
The market would have begun in 1958 and to serve the purpose of allowing for vendors to be able to sell produce in an environment where they be free from exposure to the elements. In previous years, we have been able to utilize and to have various persons like butchers, food vendors, fruit and vegetable vendors, fish vendors, and so on. And this area was ideally suited because it is in a prime location. It is part of a built area, and is also next door to residential areas as well, where that person who lives close by can come to the market to purchase their produce and so on. Back in the 80s, Fairchild Street Market was basically the main public market in Barbados. When the traders from the inter-island, the Vincentians and Solutions who would bring their produce, during the week, there was a mix of cultures. Residents used to come from Nelson Street and from the surrounding districts, patronizing the market, and vice versa. The vendors used to live in housing that was temporary for short-term stay. Now, over time, the market fell into disrepair, and the decision was taken around 2007 to close the market, to relocate the vendors, and to redevelop this market.
The new Fairchild Street Market Village has been built on the original floor slab of the older market. It's being constructed in phases and incorporates traditional Barbadian architectural styles.
The first phase will facilitate 44 food and beverage stalls. Those persons who prepare or who bring food and sell. That first phase also includes 3 bathroom blocks and the central promenade.
In addition to that, we're going to have a series of stalls, which I would say are multi-purpose or multi-utility stalls, where we have people like cobbler, someone selling lotto tickets, maybe a barber. And then along the elevation which runs on Fairchild Street, you'll have the fruit and vegetable vendors, and that constitutes the phase 2 of the development. So the phase 2 will be the development of the car park, which is pretty much the original car park of the original market, and then a series of fruit and vegetable stalls running along Fairchild Street.
There is also a third phase that will facilitate the butchers and fishmonger block. There are 7 butchers that we're going to be accommodating and 1 fish vendor, and they're accommodated in a separate temperature controlled environment facility.
And I will note that phase 3 will also have a small administrative block to be used by the Markets Division in the management of the facility. The whole idea around the design was to use the Barbadian vernacular, the chattel house concept, which you see, which has been typified by the 45-degree pitch. And we also look at over here, if you want to, you can see the shiplap or simulated siding, as your people call siding board. It's arranged along two axes, one running east-west and the other running north-south. North-south picks up from Nelson Street and comes through the center of the development towards St. Michael's Row, in that area, and the Greenidge. So that's one axis, and the other axis comes from the eastern side, which people coming from the hospital through to the bus stand. This provides throughput, pedestrian throughput, for the vendors once this development is completed, because people coming from the minibus stand, from the hospital, is a natural flow. People coming from the existing Fairchild Street bus stand, again a natural flow through the site, and then people walking along Fairchild Street can access it along the north-south axis.
To the western side of the market, we have a kind of like a bandstand area or gazebo where that you can hold live events. You can see this entire area is open, and this lends itself to a lot of opportunities for events, but the whole objective is to make this area a central activity for the vendors, for vendors to operate and for them to thrive.
The market's design also incorporates national health and safety standards. Provisions have been made for the management of food waste such as fats, oils and grease.
As always, when we construct facilities, we make sure that we first and foremost abide by those health and safety regulations. We also abide by the food hygiene regulations. So the facilities will meet those criteria with respect to the design, layout and construction materials that are being used. We use approved materials.
So one of the things that we've incorporated is each stall has its own water heating system. So therefore, that is that's one of the critical aspects of the health and safety requirements for food vending. In addition, the stalls are segregated where the food preparation part of the stall is properly partitioned from the general service area part of the stall. So at every juncture, we interface with the Ministry of Health and the Markets Division to ensure that what we have here will meet the highest health and safety standards as it relates to food preparation.
In keeping with Barbados' goal to become a fully inclusive society, the Fairchild Street Market Village will be wheelchair accessible.
The landscape designer is particularly sympathetic to the disabled community. So in her, what I call hardscape design, there are a lot of ramps. There are ramps leading from the car park. The bathrooms are all wheelchair accessible. We have stalls within the bathroom which are adapted for wheelchair use. So from that perspective, we've ensured that there are no barriers to wheelchair movement throughout the entire complex once it is completed.
The environment and climate were also taken into consideration. Bridgetown is a low-lying area and Barbados is vulnerable to natural hazards such as hurricanes. Climate-resilient features have been incorporated into the design.
If you look at all the roof structure, you see we've incorporated many of the engineering features of roof straps, hurricane straps, certain aspects of jointing of the timber to ensure that structurally it can withstand up to at least a Category 2 hurricane. All the what we call street lights will be powered by the sun, so it'll be solar lighting. And again, as part of the climate resilience, all the services infrastructure, primarily the telephone, data, communications, all that runs on the ground. So there are no overhead wires. Again, that will allow for quicker restoration in the event of a hurricane, or if there's any major climate event that would impact on the things like the electrical supply and the telephone supply.
Sometimes Bridgetown is prone to flooding and we are right by the Greenidge. Has consideration been given to things like that?
Yeah, certainly the engineer would have set the levels of things like the bathrooms, the car park levels, to ensure that we don't have an event where this whole place will be flooded out. I mean, the water that you would see here if you would have passed maybe a year ago, you might have seen a lot of water towards the western end, but that is a result of tidal movement. The tidal movement was caused because we were pretty close to the water table here. So what we've done, we've incorporated a series of catch pits, soakaways, in order to mitigate the impact of flooding as well as the tidal movement, which sometimes causes water to settle on this site.
True to its mandate, the Urban Development Commission engaged the services of several small and medium-sized contractors to build the Fairchild Street Market Village.
Currently, there are 20 artisans on site and they are executing the project in relation to the infrastructural works. There's also a 7-member project team, and there are more than 10 Barbadian businesses providing various services and ancillary works that are assisting on this project as well. The small contractors work with larger contractor groups. They therefore provide assistance in relation to building the promenade that we're standing on. They would have done the construction of the stalls. The stalls would have been built from block and woodwork. We would have had persons who would have done excavation works. There would have been works on the slab preparation. There'd also been works related to security services, fencing services. We're going to have electrical services done, plumbing. There are 3 bathroom blocks already completed. And we would also encourage or ask persons who are plumbers and small artisans to assist us. We're also asking persons who are joiners to build the cupboards. So in each aspect of the project, as it progresses, there are small contractors who benefit and medium contractors who benefit as well.
UDC, by its very mandate, has a need to ensure that small and medium-sized contractors get opportunities. So, I think that they've been true to their mandate by insisting that we spread the work as wide and as far as possible. So many of the contractors that you see on site are not household names that you would hear on the radio, but I must say that the quality of the workmanship and the efficiency and the production has not been compromised by the use of small workmen. So it speaks to the fact that there's a wealth or a pool of talent that is available to be tapped on when it comes to the provision of construction services.
On completion of Phase 1, vendors who were dislocated due to construction will be relocated to this new facility.
Initially, the market mix would be basically those meat purveyors or butchers, those persons who operate small canteens, food businesses, a variety of stores, persons who might be into like barbering and hairdressing. We're also going to be accommodating people who do shoemaking, craft persons, fruit and vegetable persons. So the market mix is going to be varied, and we anticipate that within, because what we observe is that persons come up with new ideas all the time. And the variety stores will tend to lend for those persons who might have new ideas. But we have to satisfy those persons who have been dislocated. As you know, Golden Square has been closed to make way for the Freedom Village. And currently, some of the butchers have been relocated to other markets. Some of the vegetable vendors have been relocated to other markets. But those persons who have a physical location, like a canteen or so on, they have been dislocated, so they are not operating right now. What we have to do is to, when the whole process is completed and redeveloped, that those persons will be able to come back in and fill in. The food court vendors will be those persons who will be accommodated first. This entire area will cater to those persons.
It's anticipated the redevelopment of the Fairchild Street Market Village will enhance the surroundings, and this area will once again become a hub for recreation, socialization, entertainment, and commercial activity within the city.
I'm very, very optimistic that Fairchild Street would, bring back that kind of activity to Bridgetown, because in the intervening period, during the period of closure, what we would observe is that vendors would operate all through hours in the night, and it was a hell of an activity. People can come and relax on evenings after work and to socialize with their friends and to meet people. And this is the critical thing that we probably want to look at, to have that activity and that kind of socialization thing taking place again at this market.